Hi, everybody, and welcome to Tea Tuesday. Whoop, the phone's a little crooked here. Phew. Okay, I am drinking Diet Coke today. Yes, Diet Coke. I'd like to thank Life with Patti and Kathy's Favorite Things for hosting this tea. And it's an open collaboration. Anybody can join. It can be formal tea, it can be informal tea, it can be hot tea, it can be cold tea, whatever you choose. So, I'll put everything in the description box and the link below. Just hashtag it lowercase Tea Tuesday. And just have a beverage of your choice or a cup of tea. We'd love to have you. And you can craft or you can just chat. Oh my goodness, and Miss Maggie May just broke into my craft room. But that's okay. I've been gone today, so that's fine. I want to show you, look what I got. Well, really, Mr. Twiddle? And hello, Mr. Twiddle. Well, I have to tell you, this is a take two because I deleted the first one. Yep, I did. So let's get started. This is going to be Mr. Twiddle and the cow. Oh, Lord, Mr. Twiddle, what are you getting yourself into? Mr. Twiddle and the cow. One day, Mrs. Twiddle asked Mr. Twiddle to go fetch her brother's cow for her. Albert, my brother is going away, she said, and I told him we would look after his cow for a day or two. Twiddle, so you go and fetch it, and we'll keep it in the field behind the house. It will be nice to have some fresh milk. For nothing, Mr. Twiddle put down his paper and got up with a sigh. There's always seems something to do just when he's nicely settled. He brushed his hair, stuffed a clean handkerchief in his pocket, went to the door. Twiddle, don't forget your hat, said Mrs. Twiddle. I believe you would forget to take your head with you if it wasn't firmly fixed on. I don't want my hat, said Mr. Twiddle. You must take your hat, said Mrs. Twiddle firmly. The sun is going to be hot. So Twiddle had to take his hat, but he felt rather obstinate that morning, and he made up his mind that although he had to take his hat, he wouldn't wear it. No, he'd carry it in his hand. Ah, Mrs. Twiddle, you'd be crossed if you saw that. It was a nice hat, for it was a new one. It was brown. It had a fine brown ribbon around it, tied in a bow on its side. It fitted Mr. Twiddle perfectly. Secretly, Mr. Twiddle thought he would look extremely nice in his new hat, and he quite meant to put it on. If this is a typo error, let me see if I can figure it out. And he quite meant to put it on if he met anyone, but he didn't. He got to the field and called the cow. The cow, a gentle creature, knew him well, came to the gate at once. Mr. Twiddle tied a rope around the neck and led her off. He hadn't gone far before his shoelace came undone. Mr. Twiddle looked down at it. He had his hat in one hand and the cow's rope in another. What was he to do? What was he to do? I must just hang my hat up somewhere, said Mr. Twiddle in a dreamy voice, for it was hot and he was rather sleepy. Oh, yes, he was. He looked for something to hang his hat up. Oh, Mag, I'm sorry, guys. And saw the cow's horns. Oh, Maggie, sorry. Looking just like the hall pegs at home on which he always hung his hat. Mr. Twiddle put on his hat on the horns of the surprised cow. Then he knelt down and did up his shoelaces very cleverly with one hand. "Ha," he said proudly when he had finished. "Some folks may call me a stupid man, but it isn't many who could tie a lace with one hand." He walked on with the cow, feeling quite pleased with himself. The cow came gently after him, wearing the brown hat, looking very comical indeed. But Mr. Twiddle had forgotten all about his hat. It wasn't until the sun shone down really hot on his head that he felt he needed a hat. He put it in his hand to his head and found no hat there. He looked at his two hands. Now what had happened to his hat? He had certainly started out with it. "Oh, brother, brother, brother," said Mr. Twiddle, "I must have left it on the gate where I fetched the cow." So back he went, and the cow still following, Mr. Twiddle's hat perched on her horn. Soon they met Mrs. Gable. And how she laughed to see the cow. Can you see what's up there? "Sorry, I can't raise my hat to you this morning," said Mr. Twiddle politely. I'm sorry I lost my place because I think she's going to jump on my head. "But I've put it somewhere and forgotten it." "Ho, ho, so you have," giggled Mrs. Gable. And she laughed till the tears ran down her cheek. The next person Mr. Twiddle met was Dame Shoe. She looked quite alarmed when she saw Mr. Twiddle without a hat and the cow with one. "Just going to look for my hat, Dame Shoe," said Mr. Twiddle politely. "You know I left it somewhere about, and I'm to find it." "Ask the cow, and maybe she'll tell you where it is," said Dame Shoe with a squeal of laughter. Mr. Twiddle looked crossly at a silly woman, he thought. "Ask the cow, indeed, as if she could tell me where my hat is." Then he met Mr. Wonks, the hot sausage man who sold ice cream in the summer. "Good day, Mr. Twiddle," said Mr. Wonks, grinning at the cow. "Hot weather for the cow, isn't it? I see you don't want to get her a headache." Mr. Twiddle stared at him in amazement. What could Mr. Wonks mean? "You must be mad, Mr. Wonks," said Mr. Twiddle in a high, mighty voice. "Cows don't get headaches, nor sunstrokes either, by the looks of things," grinned Mr. Wonks. Mr. Twiddle said no more. He began to think that the sun had made everybody a little mad this morning. He got to the field gate, but careful, Maggie. But there was no hat to be seen. Mr. Twiddle was upset. Someone must have along taken it. "My nice new hat," he said mournfully. "What, oh, what will Mrs. Twiddle say?" He went home so upset that he didn't notice how everyone laughed at the cow with the hat on. He took the cow round to the back to show Mrs. Twiddle, for she was fond of the gentle creature. As soon as Mrs. Twiddle opened the door, Mr. Twiddle began to explain about his hat. "I'm so very sorry," he said, "but somehow or other I seem to have lost my hat. Maybe it blew away. Maybe someone stole it. I don't know what happened. But anyways, I'm very sorry, my dear, and I'll go buy a new one this very minute. I do wish I knew what had happened to it. If you look behind you, you'll see the cow had more sense than you," cried his wife. She knew how to bring a hat home anyhow. Twiddle turned and looked at the cow. He saw his hat perched on her horns. The cow opened her mouth and spoke gently. "Moo," she said, "moo." And she waggled her head gently, asking Mr. Twiddle to take off the hat, for it annoyed her. "Oh, the clever creature," cried Mr. Twiddle in the greatest delight. Mrs. Twiddle, do you see she's got my hat for me? She must have found it and put it on and brought it all the way home for me. Now, isn't that really remarkably clever? I must go and tell everyone about the most extraordinary cow. And with that, Mr. Twiddle beamed all over his face, gave his wife a good slap and kiss the cow on the nose. Sorry, dear, sorry, he said as he saw Mrs. Twiddle looking as black as thunder. I meant to kiss you and slap the cow. I did, really. And clapping his hat on his head upside down, he hurried off to tell everyone the story how the cow had found his hat and wore it home. Dear old Twiddle, he is a muddler, isn't he? Isn't it nice to be back with Mr. Twiddle? Thank you for coming along to Tea Tuesday. And after that, I need a drink of my Diet Coke. And thank you for putting up with Maggie. She was a little rude today being up there. She was taking advantage. Okay, everybody, have a great day. We'll see you for Grammy's DT Meals and More. Bye now.